From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
What's really priceless to us is the cost of losing a year's worth of data.
Flattened fields, the millions of dollars lost after this week's severe storms, and how farmers and ranchers are coping.
We expect that the courts will continue to vindicate the rights of transgender Montanans.
We protect children from adult consequences and adult decisions.
Restricting treatments, how the landmark decision by the Supreme Court impacts Montanans and transgender medical care.
I'm Jonathan Amberian in Helena. I'll have more on a ballot measure campaign seeking to put a measure before voters next year to try to get around the Citizens United decision on campaign spending.
Those stories and much more coming up in the next hour. Good morning and welcome back to Montana This Morning on this Thursday, June 19th. I'm Hailey Monaco here with Miller Robson. Miller, we're almost to the end of the week.
Yep, and almost to the official start of summer on Friday night. And it starts off on a bumpy note. Starting this afternoon, a chance of more severe storms all the way through Saturday. We're not looking at what we've seen the last couple of days, but it still could kind of dicey. Very hit or miss showers and thunderstorms is kind of what we're looking at. And if you missed this last hour, this next hour, we're going to just break it all down for you as we move forward. Yesterday, it was hot. A good 8 degrees above the norm, our high of 86. 55, pretty seasonal for this time of the year. Top gust yesterday of 21 miles an hour. It was a beautiful day yesterday. A lot of sunshine. Still in the hole for the month in terms of moisture for the year. We're still ahead. We have a chance to see, for some areas, maybe a decent amount of moisture all the way through Sunday night as we have several waves coming through. Pretty quiet out there right now, but this is what we're facing today. Give or take an hour, 3 p.m. until midnight for a good portion of the area outside of maybe northern parts of Wyoming, where we could see gusts up to 65 miles an hour. That'll be the main concern, and the secondary threat would be the possibility of small hail. Right now, as we wake up, temperatures mainly in the 50s. We've got right now in Billings a very nice start at 56. Dew points at 49 degrees, winds out of the southwest at about 6 miles an hour. A lot of sunshine today to juice up that atmosphere. We'll be into the 80s by lunchtime, into the 90s by the time we drive home today. And that's when maybe this evening we start to see a chance of that severe weather. We'll tell you more about that as we go along this hour.
90 degrees right as we're getting into bed, huh, Miller?
Yeah, for us anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah. From Huntley to Highwood and Shepherd to Sheridan, much of Montana was slammed by severe weather at the beginning of the week. By now, you've seen the damage to homes like this one that was completely flattened Monday in Shepherd. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to damage. In this morning's Montana Ag Report, Hannah Pettiferi takes us to 2 Montana ranches reeling with losses after their entire crops were wiped out, a scenario many across the state can relate to.
This is what remains on Norman Holland's shed. He got a call Monday that it was no longer standing where it always has. Literally blown away in a matter of minutes.
Norman, you realize your machinery shed is gone? It's out in your field.
And not only is his shed gone,
Shepherd got hit the hardest.
This swather was also swallowed by debris, a sight Norman is still trying to process.
I'm just waiting for them to come out and look at it so we can start cleaning up.
But not everything can be cleaned up.
Looks like somebody went through the lawnmower. 150
acres of what used to be 2 to 3 feet of malt barley is now flat.
That crop out there is probably worth about $100,000. So that's a loss.
You can see what it looks like when it's growing.
Well, it hurts. Yeah, it hurts. It's a real financial loss.
Just down the road, the MSU Agriculture Center of Research in Huntley is also facing the devastation.
There's really nothing, we have no crops left on the station.
Unable to replant.
We'll have no harvest here on station this fall.
Superintendent Kent McVeigh recalls similar damage from a 2019 storm.
We may have as much damage this time as we did then.
McVeigh estimates the storm here caused about $1 million of destruction. 400 acres was wiped out. But he says that pales in comparison to the research and experiments happening here, now lost.
What's really priceless to us is the cost of losing a year's worth of data.
A field day scheduled for Wednesday at the station was canceled. because there's nothing to show.
Corn was probably 1.5 feet, 2 foot tall before the storm, and it was just blasted down to the ground.
Back on Holland Ranch, Norman, too, is now contemplating what's next. He didn't have crop insurance and is now trying to figure out a plan B.
We might put a crop in, like sorghum or Sudan grass or something.
In Shepherd, Hannah Pettiferi, MTN News.
Hannah, thank you. That storm left behind a large area of hail, more than 1/2 foot in some places, creating a winter scene in June. Seeing the destruction from the ground is one thing, but a Rocky Mountain College flight coordinator captured the storm's path from above this week. Take a look at these photos. These were taken around Tuesday afternoon, more than 18 hours after the storm had departed. As you can see, just a line of hailstones remained on the ground following the storm out of Shepherd and to the southeast. Pilot Lane Chrisman says the scene proves just how devastating weather can be.
I think as pilots, right, we all understand that weather is super ever changing. It can be a huge hazard to us. It's stuff like that. Obviously, we're never flying in that, but it's things like that that really make you realize the true potential of a storm. I mean, dumping 8 inches of hail that lasts through several days is pretty uncommon, at least for me flying. So getting to see that was really interesting, and it was eye-opening to just the sheer power of weather.
Through all the wreckage, the Shepherd community is rallying together in support of one family, the Daltons, who tragically had their trailer home ripped from its foundation and flipped upside down Monday, are still trying to piece their lives together. But as our Charlie Kleps reports, it doesn't look like they'll be doing it alone.
The work hasn't stopped.
We were out here for about 10 hours yesterday.
In the aftermath of Monday night's extreme storm, the Dalton family continues to pick up the pieces.
Just kind of digging through the rubble, trying to find our valuables.
While their search has found important sentimental items,
like my grandfather's ashes.
Seeing their scattered belongings and their overturned home is still haunting.
Like every time we come back out here and see the aftermath, it's just like opening the fresh wound all up again.
Things like children's toys, bicycles, the family freezer, and mattresses.
I'm struggling, you know.
Cleaning up the damage here is proving to be an endless process, but thankfully the family is now receiving support from the community with 3 different GoFundMes created in their benefit.
You feel so loved with the support that we're seeing from our family, friends, and the community. It's a lot to take in.
And as the Daltons continue to clean up, those GoFundMe accounts have picked up steam.
We're more than grateful for everything. I mean, we can't thank everybody enough, honestly.
The Daltons say it's support that is shocking considering how devastating the storm was for everyone.
Everything going on and everybody having so much to deal with themselves that it was overwhelming to see how much support and that people wanted to help us.
The family says they don't have access to the funds yet, needing to set up an account at a bank that will honor the funds raised.
Be ideal to throw it in.
Still, the money represents hope.
I think it kind of gives us a little bit of sigh of relief. We hope everyone else that got affected by the storm gets just as much support as we are.
In Shepherd, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
Charlie, thank you. The conflict between Israel enters its 7th day this morning as President Trump calls for Iran's unconditional surrender. It's a call that country's supreme leader continues to reject. Israel's military says it struck around 20 targets in Tehran yesterday, prompting thousands to flee. With those attacks taking place, Trump says he is now considering joining Israel in striking Iran's nuclear facilities. However, sources say there is not agreement among the president's closest advisors about next steps. Iran leaders warn any military involvement by the U.S. would cause, quote, irreparable damage. In a landmark decision, a divided U.S. Supreme Court has upheld a Tennessee law restricting some medical treatments for transgender minors. That law was challenged by the Biden administration and 3 families, arguing the treatments are life-saving for teens diagnosed with gender dysphoria. It's a decision that could have a direct impact here in Montana, one of 26 other states with restrictions on gender-affirming care. Our David J. dives deeper into what the ruling means for the Treasure State.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that a Tennessee law prohibiting puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and some surgeries does not violate the 14th Amendment and does not discriminate based on sex.
Children deserve protection from our states, not experimentation.
The Montana Family Foundation says this ruling is good for children, while the American Civil Liberties Union calls this a devastating loss.
General concern about this atmosphere of anti-transgender animus.
Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the majority, stating, "Our role is not to judge the wisdom, fairness, or logic of the law before us. We leave questions regarding its policy to the people, their elected representatives, and the democratic process."
States should be emboldened to pass legislation that protects children from irreversible consequences. Unfortunately, I think we're going to see an epidemic of children experiencing these consequences later on in life unless states make moves to protect them now.
Dissenting Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote that with the decision, the court abandons transgender children and their families to political whims.
These decisions should be made between an individual, their family, and their healthcare provider, and the government has no business inserting itself into that medical room.
In December, the Montana Supreme Court agreed with the lower court that a law prohibiting minors with gender dysphoria from getting surgical and medical treatments is unconstitutional. And now there is some disagreement about how this U.S. Supreme Court ruling will affect Montana law.
The legislature is not giving up, and the state of Montana is not giving up on making sure that we have definitions that make sense, that are objective, that sex is immutable, you can't change it, and that we're going to protect children from these dangerous experiments.
We enjoy greater constitutional protections under our state constitution than exist under the federal constitution. And so gender-affirming care for transgender minors remains legal in this state and will for the foreseeable future.
26 states have laws with restrictions on these procedures. In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Thanks, David. The future of Rocky Mountain wolf protections came before a Montana federal court this week. The hearing is the latest in the long battle over federal protections for gray wolves. The animals are currently protected under the Endangered Species Act in the lower 48, except for the Northern Rockies, including Montana. Conservation groups petitioned the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to reinstate protections in the region, and when the petition was denied, they sued over alleged violations to the Endangered Species Act. The groups, including Missoula-based Wilderness Watch, says ESA protections are necessary to have a healthy wolf population. They also say that the Fish and Wildlife Service was wrong in the way they denied the petition.
Wolves are still being persecuted as though we were in the 19th century instead of the 21st century. And our desire to see them receive the protections that they deserve and that they need at the federal level is why we were here in court. And I'm hopeful that we're going to be successful in that.
In the hearing, lawyers for the Fish and Wildlife Service argued that with management from Rocky Mountain states, the wolf population does not need federal protection and that the agency was justified in its denial. Judge Donald Malloy of Missoula said he would rule on the case as soon as possible. Starting today, some Yellowstone National Park rivers and streams will be closing much earlier than expected. The Madison River, Firehole River, and Gibbon River will be shutting down daily at 2 in the afternoon. The closure is due to warm water temperatures and low river flows. Water temps have exceeded 68 degrees in recent days, and those conditions can be lethal to trout. The closure will protect the park's native and wild trout fisheries and will remain in effect until conditions improve. Yellowstone Lake and other lakes will remain open to fishing from sunrise to sunset.